The archives of the Ordo Chronos are vast. The truths are often terrifying. Accessing dossier.
The air tastes of dust. Not the good dust of a world with a sun, but the dead dust of recycled paper and recycled souls. It clings to the back of the throat. The light is gray. It has always been gray. It filters down from the glow globes a kilometer above, lost in the smog of our own breath and the heat haze from the cogitator banks. The scratching is the only sound that matters, the sound of 1,000 auto quills scratching across 1,000 data slates. My scratching. The scratching of the man in the cubicle next to me. The scratching of the woman behind me whom I have never seen, but whose weary sighs I know better than my own name. My designation is Nora, Scribe menial, grade 9. My cubicle is number 774-Gamma. My task is to process Ultima Segmentum harvest tithes. A transport vessel, the Saint's Endurance, is 3 weeks overdue from the agri-world of Solace. My function is to change its status from active to lost presumed. 1 keystroke. A world's worth of food, gone. 1,000,000 lives, perhaps, gone. I do not feel anything. Feeling is inefficient. I press the key. The light on my console blinks from green to red. My function for this moment is complete. There are 10,000 more moments until the slumber chime.
So. The official histories of the Imperium speak of its armies, its fleets, its heroes. But the true foundation of the Emperor's realm is not adamantium or faith. It is paper. It is data. It is the endless, soul-crushing labor of the Adeptus Administratum. The work of its scribes, their backs hunched over desks, recording the ending of lives as thoughtlessly as they might the day's precipitation, is the single most vital function in the galaxy. This report, designated G9-SCRI-BE-01, will analyze the life of one such functionary. We will examine the vast, uncaring machine she serves, the daily reality of her toil, and the paradoxical nature of her existence. We will seek to answer a fundamental question. In a system that can condemn 1 billion souls with a single keystroke, what is the value of the single anonymous soul who presses the key? The official history of the Adeptus Administratum, as recorded in the approved primers for the newly indentured functionaries, is a narrative of necessary order forged from the chaos of old night. It is a story of logic, reason, and the Emperor's divine vision for a unified, rational galaxy.
Attend, Acolyte. Remember the legacy of the Sigillite. In the dawn of the Great Crusade, as the Master of Mankind brought enlightenment to the scattered worlds of humanity, his regent, Malcador the Sigillite, forged the very engine of that new order. He created the Imperial Administration to assess the tithes, to conduct the census, to maintain the records. It was the ultimate expression of the imperial truth, to supplant superstition with data, to replace faith with facts.
The primer frames the institution's sole purpose as the administration of the Great Tithe. This is presented not as a tax, but as the sacred, logistical lifeblood of the Imperium. The scribe is taught that their work is a holy duty, ensuring the endless flow of soldiers to the Astra Militarum, materials to the Forge Worlds, and supplies to 1,000,000 fronts.
Know your function, Acolyte. You are the silent arbiter of planetary fate. The data you process is the measure of a world's loyalty. Your ledgers are a constant judgment. Through your tireless, selfless labor, you ensure that armies are armed, worlds are taxed. and the will of the High Lords of Terror is enacted. You are a vital component in the most complex machine ever conceived. Your service is your honor.
The official record speaks only of this grand purpose. It does not speak of the 10,000-year decline into ritualistic inefficiency. It does not speak of the institutional paralysis, or the lost paperwork that has doomed armies, or the worlds that have vanished from memory due to simple clerical error. It does not speak of the soul-crushing drudgery that awaits every new acolyte. This is the official history, a clean, simple narrative of rational order and holy purpose. It is the first and last piece of good news a scribe is ever likely to hear. To find the truth of their existence, we must descend into the scriptorum, into the perpetual grey twilight of the cubicle field. Our subject is Scribe Menial Naura, Grade 9, assigned to Missive Hall Theta 12 on what is likely a vast orbital plate above Holy Terror. Her life is a Sisyphean cycle of repetitive tasks, performed in an environment designed to suppress individuality. She is an archetypal menial cog, an interchangeable component in a machine of incomprehensible scale. Her world is her cubicle.
The slumber chime is the same pitch as the work chime. There is no difference between waking and sleeping, only the function changes. My slumber cubicle is 2 meters long, 1 meter wide. It is a drawer in a wall of 1,000 identical drawers. The air vent hisses. It smells of recycled protein and the faint, sweet scent of the sedatives they put in the water supply. It is time for the cycle. The refectory is a cavern of gray steel. The nutrient paste is gray. The water is gray. The faces of the other scribes are gray. We do not speak. Conversation is inefficient and risks doctrinal deviation. We eat, we file out, we march, 1,000 boots on a steel floor, the sound echoes. We are marching to our desks, we are marching to our graves. It is the same thing.
The Adeptus Administratum is a perfect microcosm of the Imperium's rigid hierarchical structure. An individual's worth is defined by their rank. At the bottom are the numberless menials like Naura. Their superiors, the prefects and overseers, are a privileged class. The color of their monastic-style robes denotes their station. The lowliest scribe in black, rising through shades of grey, with the most senior officials in pure white, a visual representation of their ascent from the ink-stained masses.
My cubicle is my world. 3 gray walls, a data slate, a cogitator terminal, a single portrait of the God Emperor, its eyes seeming to watch, to judge. Overwatcher Jedmund patrols the gantry above. He is fat. His robes are a lighter shade of gray than mine. He sips from a flask. He does not work. His function is to ensure we work. If a scribe coughs too loudly, a servitor is dispatched. Punishment is a function of the system. The work is a river of data, a constant, unpunctuated stream of text on the screen. Tithe grades, munitorum supply manifests, planetary census deviations. My task is to verify, collate, and rewrote. I am a filter, a human cogitator. I do not know what the numbers mean. To know would be a security risk. A request for 1,000,000 tons of grain for a world called Orestes. A request for 50,000 body bags for the Cadian Gate. I do not think about it. I process. I click. I move to the next file. The scratching of my autoquill is the only sound I make.
This existence places the Scribe in a unique and terrifying existential position. They are individually insignificant, yet systemically omnipotent. A simple clerical error, a misplaced decimal point, a misfiled requisition form can lead to the starvation of a world or the misdeployment of an army. The lowly Scribe is a living paradox, a powerless being who can, through a single thoughtless act, condemn billions to die.
There are whispers, always whispers, in the waste reclamation units where the audio pickups are faulty. The man from the cubicle down the row, the one with the nervous twitch, he whispers about Caspar Hauser, an academic who tried to change the system, who wanted to understand the data, not just file it. They say he was a traitor. They say he resigned. They say he was taken by the Inquisition. The story changes. The only constant is that he is gone. To want to understand is a dangerous thing. Sometimes the data is wrong. A tithe record from a world that was declared exterminatus a century ago. A request for reinforcements for a regiment that was officially struck from the records. I see these errors. I am trained to see them. My function is to flag them for a higher authority. I flag the error. The file disappears from my screen. It is sent to some other department in some other tower 1 billion kilometers away. I do not know what happens to it. I do not ask. To ask is inefficient.
The vast archives of the Imperium are not just repositories of tithe records, but also tombs for inconvenient truths. The case of Senior Probator Alexius Voigt of Polaris Null is exemplary. For 20 years, the compiled handwritten notebooks tracking a series of murders that were being systemically crushed from on high and filed away. His personal archive was a silent rebellion against the official record. For the keeper of secrets, the line between archivist and heretic is perilously thin.
A new file appears. It is different, marked with a symbol I do not recognize, a picked capture, a man's face, gaunt, pale, a scar over one eye. The file is a request for identity verification. Name, Paulus Holton, former infantryman, now a scribe in the Divisio Agriculturae on a hive world called Pyrrhus. He is being interrogated by a commissar. The file says he is suspected of sedition. My function is to search the central archives for his service record. I run the search. The data stream is slow. The archives are vast. I wait. The hum of the machinery is a little louder today. Or maybe it's just in my head. A result. His record is clean. Commendations, wounded in service, reassigned to a new function, but there is a footnote, a cross-reference to a purged file. I do not have clearance for purged files. My function is to report that the primary record is clean. I type the response. The file closes. The man's face vanishes. I do not think about the purged file. I move to the next task. The scratching continues.
The official primer speaks of a rational, efficient machine. The lived reality for Scribe Nara is a Kafkaesque nightmare of monotonous labor, soul-crushing uniformity, and deliberate ignorance. We must now analyze why this chasm between the ideal and the reality exists. The Adeptus Administratum was founded to impose logical order on the galaxy. After 10 millennia of decay, it has itself become a primary source of chaos. Its own internal procedures are so complex that civil wars can erupt over filing systems. Its archives are so vast that entire departments have been lost within them, their members continuing to perform obsolete tasks for centuries. The institution's notorious inefficiency is not solely a product of its size. It is actively weaponized. It is a form of self-preservation. In a galaxy where rapid change is often synonymous with heresy, the Administratum's inability to move quickly acts as a colossal brake, enforcing a brutal, unthinking stability above all else. A request is not just delayed, it may have been deliberately sabotaged by a suborned clerk in the service of a rival power. The request is not just delayed, it may have been deliberately sabotaged by a suborned clerk in the service of a rival power. It is noteworthy to the archivist that this depiction of profound dysfunction is a later embellishment in the Imperial record. The earliest chronicles from the Rogue Trader era presented the Administratum as a more functional, if sinister, arm of the government. The modern narrative of a bloated, self-perpetuating, and almost sentiently obstructive bureaucracy solidified in the later millennium of law development. This reflects a maturation of the Imperium's own self-narrative, a grim acceptance of its own decay. The most terrifying aspect of the system, as revealed by the case of the Scribe fused to his own desk, is the institution's ultimate unspoken goal. It is not merely to use human beings as components, but to methodically and completely transform fallible man into a perfect, unthinking, and immortal part of the great Imperial machine. The life of a scribe is a slow, grinding process of dehumanization, a ritual sacrifice of the self to the god of bureaucracy. We return then to cubicle 774 Gamma. The work chime has rung. The cycle is over.
The gray faces file out of the hall, towards the refectory, towards the slumber drawers. Another cycle is complete. 10,000 moments. 1,000,000 keystrokes. I processed the tithes of 12 worlds. I marked 3 fleets as lost. I verified the service records of 200 soldiers. I did my function. As I stand, I look at the screen. The face of the man, Paulus Holton, is still there. A retinal after image, a ghost in my machine. The file was clean, but there was a purged record, a truth hidden behind a wall of black ink, a question I am not allowed to ask.
We began this report with a question. In a system that can condemn 1 billion souls with a single keystroke, what is the value of the single anonymous soul who presses the key? The archives are clear. The value of the soul is 0. The value of the function is absolute. The Scribe of the Adeptus Administratum is the ultimate paradox of the 41st millennium. They are the most powerless individual in the Imperium, a prisoner in the life of monotonous toil, their every action dictated by a vast, uncaring system. And yet, they are the most powerful. Their silent, thoughtless work is the foundation of all Imperial power. Their quill is mightier than any blade. Their clerical error more devastating than any orbital bombardment. They are a spark in the darkness, and by the time they are noticed, they are gone. A retinal after-image, obscured by newer, brighter lights. But the data remains. The record endures. And sometimes, in the silence of the great archives, a ghost of a question is all that is needed to unravel an empire. My report is concluded. The full dossier will be sealed under penalty of heresy. You may append your own approved commentary to the record below. The Ordo Chronos is ever watchful.